I'm Obi. Welcome to Futureview Podcast on data and AI. Um, we call ourselves the African Seat at AI and Emerging Technology Table. Each episode brings experts, stories, ideas, practical steps for citizens, leaders, NGOs, and our global partners. And today we have a special guest, Dr. Uhumuavbi. Thank you, Doc, for joining today. How are you?
I'm very good, Obi. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Can you please introduce yourself and a little bit of your background for the
Yes,
audience?
my name is Dr. Ikpenmosa Uhumuavbi. I'm a senior lecturer in the School of Law, Greater Manchester University. My area of expertise is artificial intelligence and emerging technologies. I've worked as a lawyer for many years, and then upon completing my PhD, I veered into academia. And since then, it's been a wonderful opportunity to teach students, grow their intellect, grow their areas of expertise, consult for organizations, including the government of Edo State, Nigeria, support initiatives both within the UK and outside, including most recently some work we did with the World Trade Organization. It's
Oh,
been fascinating that we've had to support big organizations like the WTO in the area of artificial intelligence. So it's quite a huge opportunity to be sat here discussing issues around artificial intelligence as it pertains to Africa. So I want to say that is just a little bit of me.
yeah.
Now it's time to engage in the conversation. Thank you so much, Obi, for this.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you so much for coming with this
Yes.
vast experience. Um, I think our listeners are in for a good treat today. I will start with asking what are the most significant opportunities you see for AI adoption in Africa, key sectors, maybe, I don't know, in agriculture, healthcare, education, and what are the unique challenges uh, does the continent face in realizing these opportunities?
Thank you so much. First of all, I'll touch on the opportunities before the challenges. Now, artificial intelligence is a combination of technologies. It brings together various forms of technology, including machine learning and deep learning, to provide opportunities for individuals to better, in an efficient manner, develop systems and operational mechanics that would enable effective delivery of their objectives. Now, before artificial intelligence, we've had other opportunities in terms of tools that have enabled humans to develop unique competencies, unique ideas, products and services that better the economy. But with the emergence of artificial intelligence within the Nigerian and the African landscape, we see unique opportunities in the sense that having experienced what artificial intelligence has achieved for many economies in terms of providing unique opportunities around supply chain management, where movement of goods and services becomes seamless, providing opportunities within the educational establishment, ensuring that you now have e-learning opportunities that are tailored specifically to the desires and needs of learners, to telemedicine, where there are opportunities around providing data-driven healthcare support, precision agriculture that provides opportunities for individuals to engage in agriculture based on data and not on maybe on intuition. So data-led opportunities, which means opportunities or areas of operations that are informed by existing data, by insights derived from data, has provided unique opportunities for individuals to better tailor their resources to meet the specific requirements, minimizing wastages, and also providing unique a bespoke opportunity to develop unique prototypes, unique opportunities, unique services, goods and services that meet the specific requirements of individuals. These are some of the opportunities at the level of the West. Now, let's tailor this more to the African environment, the opportunities that are available for Africans. You see, resource dependency is one of our, the idea that we'll just harvest or harness our natural resources and sell as commodity is one of the disadvantages of Africa. The fact that you have a continent so vast and rich in natural and human resources, still selling those ideas as in their raw state is one of the disincentive that has come to Africa. Now, with artificial intelligence, I see opportunities in creating, in leapfrogging the requirement that we must have unique bedrock for our development to take off. By introducing artificial intelligence, we can leapfrog certain generations of technology by improving the way we process goods and services on the continent. First of all, identifying the locations where mineral resources can be more efficient when it is done using artificial intelligence tools. Secondly, identifying places where you can co-locate energy resources with the with the machineries and equipment needed to galvanize production in an efficient manner. Artificial intelligence can provide that insight that would help generate that, where you can creatively co-locate ideas. Thirdly, data is one unique opportunity which we have. We have our indigenous knowledge systems, which is so rich. We have never had the opportunity to commercialize our indigenous knowledge systems. Our data is our own experiences. Africans are very expressive. We create unique forms of data. Data constitutes units of our experiences. Data has become a commodity. It's been commoditized, which means Africans can now earn a living out of data. But there hasn't been any sort of system that will help harness the potentials of data to create the unique ideas that would materialize into dividends for Africans. So I see opportunity in harnessing our data, is creating systems that would enable control of data, monetization of our data. We also see opportunities in the area of creating systems that would attract other government or private sector within other systems to benefit from the unique opportunities that we have. For instance, given the raw material resource we have, especially our sunlight, we are rich in energy. Wind, these renewable energy source is one of our critical advantages. For instance, in the Sahel region, some companies are already attracting revenue significantly from renewable energy, which they extract from the system and monetize. Now, creating opportunities within that space where you can derive renewable energy and use that as a means of providing opportunities, first of all, in the area of data centers, powering of data centers, is one unique opportunities, because when you co-locate your data centers within areas of energy resource, that means co-locating your data centers within Africa, where you have the energy source closely available, reduces the costs of powering those data centers. Using renewable energy to cool as a cooling system, call it passive cooling system, of those data centers will reduce the cost of the mechanical processes that are used previously. So you see an opportunity there where the energy that you derive from Africa is used to power data centers in Africa. By so doing, you have the added advantage as well of reducing the latency effect of having to co-locate or locate your data center outside Africa, when in fact the actual need for those data centers should be resident in Africa. So there's opportunity for investment in that area. There is also opportunity for investment in modular data centers. At the moment, you find Australia has done a very good job at creating systems around modular data centers, where you have micro data centers that are created to service specific locations. You have rural areas having their unique opportunities. We need to grow this in Africa. But I'll come to the challenges, because like now I have hinted on the opportunities that exist at the level of data, at the level of machinery, at the level of human resource to support the development of the AI environment, the raw materials that are needed to power, including the raw materials needed to build the smartphones and other equipment that will power the implementation and access to AI services. All those raw materials are resident in Africa. From the materials you need, the rare earths, the cobalt, and other raw materials you need, they are all resident in Africa. But the challenge really is transforming this huge opportunity that we have into strategic advantages. That is where the challenge is. First of all, we speak to the idea of having data centers or modular data centers or micro data centers in Africa. The challenge is one of who is ready to invest. Do we have the right set of investment, especially investment around the backbone technology that will support these initiatives? One thing we need, for instance, that we don't have at the moment is critical investment in the technology that powers AI. We need internet to function effectively. We need electricity, we need power. I mean, if you look at Africa as a whole, the internet penetration is very low. We need investment in fiber optics. We need investment to accelerate sub-key cable technology that would enable, that especially undersea cables and terrestrial fiber network to support growth. Now, look at the challenge of access to broadband, for instance. A country like India has done very well in its implementation of the last mile connectivity policy. What are we doing in Africa to enable increased penetration of the internet? What about cost of internet? Affordability is a challenge. I mean, here in the UK, 0.5% of your monthly income is spent on data. But in a country like Nigeria, close to 6 to 10% of your income is spent on data. True. So the net cost or the output that results from that expenditure means that the cost of information is extremely expensive, and not everyone can afford it. That is a unique challenge. Now, let's take a second look at some other challenges, which is the non-availability of internet exchange points. Most countries, in fact, 35 countries, 49 countries we have 49 ISPs in 35 countries in Africa. Yeah. But how effective are these ISPs? These are unique challenges that we have as Africans in helping to shape the future of technology. Now, that is at the level of availability of internet, insecurity, political instability, policy inconsistency, the absence of trust. Now, a political party comes in today and something happens and there is a radical change in policy. What about the structural problems on the continent where you have 54 countries that don't speak to each other? We have no underlying framework to support the interaction or interoperability of these various systems. We have 54 countries with 54 regulatory systems, legal and regulatory framework on these issues, with none speaking to the other. You just need to be a businessman coming into Africa to do business, and you will be confronted with the monolith of regulation and uncertainty. It is unimaginable. So at that level of policy consistency, coherence, there is a challenge. Now, apart from that, you look at the ideas around convertibility of currency. If you're looking to invest, you have to, first of all, convert whatever you're investing in dollars then before you. And then you have the added challenge of the cost of converting it, eating into the overall cost of delivering the project. At the end of the day, it becomes too expensive and uncompetitive. That is a challenge. Then you have the added challenge of lack of infrastructure. These countries, they are not properly linked. Road infrastructure, rail, absent. Ideas around it. If flying from Nigeria, for instance, to Ivory Coast, you imagine how easy it was for you to fly to a European country before going to Ivory Coast. You find it a lot easier than going to a neighboring West African country. It is extremely difficult. Now let's look at issues around concentration and monopoly. That's also an issue. You have the early players in. Those players take the stage and make it very difficult for the new players to set in. And within Africa, in fact, speaking about various countries, you find it so difficult to do business where you have entrenched interests and the government is so weak to be able to stamp out or confront some of these entrenched monopolies. So with systems to encourage competition is absent. Systems to improve data localization is not strong enough to encourage it. It's just a myriad of problems. I just feel speaking to you about these challenges opens up a whole level of
and that's the reason for this conversation, because it comes out as you're talking, and I like you're hitting the hammer on the nail very in a specific area. Data, AI, and all the emerging technologies are actually blockchain or Internet of Things. They all rely on data. And Africa is far behind in that data aspect. We have our data, but it's not harnessed in the right way. And like you rightly mentioned, data centers, infrastructure, and the skills where people that will actually manage all those. Those are lots of challenges we're facing. But the global tech giants, they're not waiting for us. So they are rolling out their advanced AI models and platform day and night. And AI is fast growing. We're now moving to agentic AI, and I don't want to go in there now. So how can Africa stakeholder ensure local relevance and inclusivity in AI solutions? If we can do it overnight like data, is there anything they can do to ensure relevance and inclusivity of the solution itself?
Thank you very much for that question. Yes, we have to be unique in our approach to AI. like we said, we've in the past we've had situations where we just develop, we transplant ideas from other countries and just impose on our systems without putting in place systems to properly adapt those systems, those ideas into the local context. That has been some of the challenges we've had, where when you import these ideas and it doesn't align sufficiently with the local context, it fails. And then you believe, oh, nothing works in Africa, everything else works everywhere else.
Yeah.
We must learn to localize. That's the first thing. Localize AI to our specific, unique challenges or opportunities. So, first of all, like I said, the idea of localizing data is one key area, which means we create the data, we keep the data within our system. We learn from the data helps build our own AI that is to be used by Africans for Africa. True. Secondly, let the skills that we grow, that we develop, be homegrown, tailored to the unique needs and peculiarities of Africans. Thirdly, let's use AI as a tool to solve our problems. Let's create our own AI, designed specifically to address our problem. Create homegrown AI solutions to our local problems. You see, by indigenizing AI, we would have created a unique opportunity and a competitive advantage for Africans.
Yeah.
That is one unique area that I think is missing, because every system is unique. Everyone wants to learn from Africa when they know Africa comes with an original solution to African problems. People want to come learn. But when we take prototypes, we take ideas from others and we just transplant without putting in place our own system, without creating a thorough understanding of our own peculiarities, is a challenge.
Yeah.
There's a piece I'm working on where I'm investigating the micro interactions that happen across layers of formal and informal structures as it relates to artificial intelligence. Okay. You find that interactions at the various levels of formal and informal power coalitions, power structures, are not fed into our policy and programs, which means that a vital stakeholder, the views from stakeholder within the very gamut of our system are not captured in the rules, laws, regulations, and ethical frameworks that are developed to galvanize solutions for Africans, which means every African, having looked at these policies and the ethical frameworks without recognizing their unique DNA in them, will culturally resist those ideas. That is why you find these rules don't work. We must begin by, first of all, understanding ourselves. Who are we as Africans? Yeah, this is a tool, it's AI. We've heard so much about it. Is this what we need? If it is what we need, okay, let's take it. Let's understand it. Let's build it to suit our specific requirements. That is the first thing. And then every other thing that comes with AI, let it be homegrown. Let's have our unique approach to artificial intelligence. That is the first way we'll leapfrog. Secondly, having indigenized AI and localized it to our specific needs and requirements, let us identify sectors and industries within Africa that require AI. Not every sector or industry requires AI. Not every sector. Let's identify those sectors. And let's identify individuals that are likely to resist AI and give them alternative incentives so that they don't rock the boat. I will tell you this. AI is an efficiency tool. If you introduce AI into a system, it would help streamline processes and make it transparent. It will open spaces up, reduce human interference and discretion, which means there's no room for individuals to empower themselves through the back door. Yeah, that's how AI functions. And if you apply AI to the Web3 technologies like blockchain, blockchain is a tamper-proof, transparent system that guarantees trust. Once you have these two systems brought together and it's used on a system, processes become more transparent, and there are no clear loopholes for individuals to cut corners. There are people that are heavily invested in inefficiencies in Africa. These people will not keep quiet, sit back and watch you create a system that will take food out of their table.
True.
So there is a huge collective action problem that needs to be resolved. And the only way we can resolve that collective action problem is to create alternative incentive systems that would give people a vent to allow AI, give them an alternative vent to allow AI thrive, to allow policies and procedures, systems that are built around AI to thrive, because that is the only way you can get around it. So haven't spoken to what we need to do in terms of providing the structural foundation for AI to function. We also need to identify stakeholders who may not be culturally aligned to the ideas of AI because of their predispositions or their vested interest in the current status quo.
Like people selling generator, allowing solar energy to be popular in Nigeria. People selling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you would find that even implementing some of these tools in government, you face resistance. What about issues around jobs? Some people feel okay with the introduction of AI. Some will have to go through training. Not everyone will encourage having to retrain, and maybe at an older age, knowing that this is a service that has fed you all these years, you're bringing AI to replace people. There is that palpable fear, for instance, in government circles, that when you introduce AI, people will lose their jobs. So somebody is certainly going to resist an introduction. So you find that the mention of AI seems to be amplified within the private sector to a very large extent because they are capital driven, they are profit and efficiency driven. What about public sector? The African economy is 70% public sector, 30% private sector. So are we saying, see, with the context of what we're dealing with as Africans, can we realistically introduce AI to a sector that is 70% public driven? Is public sector driven? Once you introduce that, what you're saying is those people will be out of job because you will go there and AI and the Web3 packages will streamline processes, reduce human interference. And then people will no longer have jobs. So what happens? How do they feed their families? There is an economic argument here, which needs to be fed in. And that is why I said that the micro interactions happening across power coalitions are missing in our policy formulation. These ideas are different from what you find in the West, where you find that government interaction with systems and processes just 30%, while private sector takes 70%. So we have to be careful here in the way we align our policy prescriptions. We have to position them in such a way that we do not believe that because AI exists, we should, as a matter of fact, just introduce without taking into account these various forces. A critical study of AI and its relevance to Africa needs to be better understood to create a unique strategy on AI that is befitting for Africans.
You're saying it all. I mean, I was gonna come to ethical AI, and you mentioned it ticked off because people just ethics. But the way you explain it in relation to Africa is perfect, more than I was expecting. And the question I was going to ask, what do you think is the checklist any new African AI project should tick before they launch? But I think it touched some of them already. You wanna give more?
Yes, I think aligning our first of all, in creating an ethical framework for Africa, because Africa exists within the context of the global economy in terms of creating the right ethical arrangements around AI. It's important to ensure that we have that coherence between the African ethical framework and the global ethical framework.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, have we sufficiently clarified what the African ethical framework is on AI? I've read several ethical policies written by countries in Africa. I've read the prescription from the African Union and the ideas around what ethics is. But there is no indigenous African philosophy locked in to that ethics. At the heart of Africa, our ethical framework is the Ubuntu. Ubuntu is that concept of interdependence, where you are because I am. I am because you are, which means there is the existence of my being related to your being, which means we are interconnected.
Yeah.
So whatever you do affects me. Whatever I do affects you because of that connection. That is what ethics is. Do no harm, essentially. What we're trying to see here is how we embed the African, we create a coherent narrative or framework around our own ethics, an ethical framework that is accepted and adopted by all other African countries. Then we can create that alignment with the global ethical framework to have a consensus on what constitutes ethics. Because at this stage, what we're looking at in terms of ethics is people speak to transparency, they speak to accountability, data protection.
Yeah.
These are buzzwords, explainability. These are buzzwords, but we need to properly conceive them within the context of what we really need. Because at the heart of ethics really is ideas around what might be my ethics, might be your profit. That is a challenge.
That's true.
Somebody says, this is my ethics, and the other man says, no, if you
take it out,
that ethics, I'll be hungry.
True.
So there is a need to dimension ethics in such a way that ethics carries the flavor of every system or process, and not purely a sectional ideal that reflects the dominant views or the views of the dominant players in the field. We need to clarify that. Harmonizing ethics is critical. Secondly, the legal and regulatory environment around AI needs to be properly understood here. Why the views exist with regards to creating the right framework. Africa needs a coherent legal framework on AI, especially in the area of data. Because at the heart of AI is data. Data essentially is AI. Data is AI. So how do we extract data? How do we store data?
Yeah.
When it comes to transfer of data, what are the principles that underpin data transfer? How do we evaluate the risks that are tied to data transfer? Do we have a coherent framework in Africa? Or we just have 54 countries legislating for data protection? What is the underlying philosophy that informs this legislation? And how do we protect these assets? It's a challenge. So anybody looking to invest in Africa would first of all want to understand how consistent, how credible, how coherent the data protection framework is in Africa.
Thank you so much. That's I think we'll find time to talk more about this. It's very interesting hearing it from you.
Yes.
Sorry. Let's talk about the human aspect of it. When digital scale studies has shown that rural users are far behind when compared to the urban people. When you talk about AI, some people say, a lot is happening in Nigeria already.
Yes.
A lot is happening in Ghana. But it's just, I'd say it's less than 1%. Maybe in Lagos, few people knows about it or working with it in Abuja, something like. But there's huge amount of people in other states. That's 36 states of Nigeria.
Yes.
The same in Ghana. The same in. So when people say that, I just laugh. it's not enough. We are struggling, and they fail to recognize that. So
Yes.
how do we, or which learning program can you say will be effective at lifting basic AI skills in the remote areas, not just focusing on those, hey, central Lagos and Abuja programs that the federal government used to for Photoshop, photo ops and all that.
Photo ops, yes.
Yeah.
I think, first of all, empowering the rural dwellers on what skills they require for AI should be tied to the specific requirements of those rural dwellers. Now, because school or education should exist for individuals to empower themselves to be able to solve local problems. So if a rural dweller lives in a rural area, the rural dweller should be taught how to, first of all, solve the immediate problems within the rural area. And what are the basic problems in the rural area? Absence of opportunities, inefficient way of carrying out the activities, the cultural inhibitions to engaging in new technologies or new areas. These are challenges. For instance, in terms of culture, we have traditional agri practices for those living in the rural areas. How do we encourage individuals in the rural area to develop applications using AI to support precision farming, smart farming, transport logistics? How do we empower them to develop communication systems that will support the activities in the farm? How do we harness AI to understand the soil types and the type of crops that would work effectively, the amount of water needed for a particular crop to grow effectively, the various nutrients that the soil needs, the actual temperature that the plants or animals will function optimally. What about insects? These farm environments are usually an ecosystem where you have these interdependencies. How do we support the right form of insects, the right form of air, the right form of worms and all that would help aerate the soil and nourish it? What type of mixed agriculture or mixed cropping approach will best optimize production, either of plants or animal? These are important areas that we can help rural dwellers develop the right skills using machine learning and other, yes, to help understand how the system work. Then what about data analysis? You have packages that will help transform insights from text into usable ideas that would power information and decision making. Natural language processing can help. So providing this unique AI support in terms of the packages, the tools they need, helping them develop apps that will support this is important. Now, in terms of medical care, you understand or you agree with me that in many rural areas, access to medical help is usually difficult. In fact, if you look at the current data on access to health, the United Nations recommendation is to have at least a certain number of doctors to patients. But in the case of Nigeria, you have 4 doctors to about 50 patients. I think that's the metric. But you find that you have 101 doctor to over almost 1,000 people. So you're wondering, how are they able to cope? Again, bringing in telemedicine will help, which means individuals they can develop apps that would be able to tell if an individual has challenges and report those centrally. You have opportunities where you can, even through what you wear, you can help transmit certain information to the right sources to say, well, there is an epidemiology or a pandemic or an epidemic in a specific area, and that report will be centrally logged and the right interventions happen. And then you have a system where you can map out these spatial arrangements to understand what the challenges are in these different areas. What about geographic information systems? It helps. AI plays a key role in GIS, where you're able to identify, map the land systems, document them, and put them in the right logs so that you can create assets out of these properties you have for the purpose of accessing loans to fund investments. So logging this land using your GIS can be a useful package that can be designed locally. Now, across the entire local, the rural dwellers, they can also be empowered in the area of transportation, electricity generation, using these systems, transforming their own unique energy sources into more usable energy sources that can power systems, especially when you're drawing from renewable into these systems that will help power your own locality. There is so much application that can come from AI when you develop the rural areas. But there are challenges in this space. There are challenges in the area of the cost of accessing these services or these training opportunities. It's also expensive to access the underlying technologies that will support these initiatives. For instance, in many of these rural areas, to access the internet is a difficulty. To even acquire the mobile phone technology that you need, it's a challenge. I know Starlink is doing a lot in the area of helping with satellite internet, but access to these across rural areas is a huge challenge, and information resource is critical. AI, it's not something you learn today and you just apply. It has to be a continuous iterative engagement with the systems to better understand. So if you're to train rural dwellers, how do they access these packages? Some of these packages they need exist. Some of them are exist within open software environment, but the safety and security and even access to some of these open software environments is difficult within this rural area. Electricity is one basic problems and the access to broadband equity and deployment.
I know.
These are areas that we believe are missing. And then you look at the right level of competencies around developing area. Most people that have these skills will not go to the rural areas because incentive to go to rural areas to train is not there, except you have a program that is developed by the government. I know California has did a lot of work. They have these massive programs they've done to encourage the development of these systems across rural area. They call it the BEAD, U.S. Broadband Equity Access Deployment Program, which enables, which supports, rural dwellers engage. India is also doing very well in that space, helping to power the rural dwellers by shifting internet 2, 3G to these localities so that they can begin to tap into they are now being brought into the central pool where they have access to information and then they can communicate with others to ensure that they are able to build locally. Then what about language and communication? You find that one of the critical problems we have in rural areas is the lack of communication. You have your local languages, and when you have people come in, it becomes difficult to interact. So creating packages that will help you explain, or maybe if new information is brought in, and communicated in a different language, those rural dwellers may not be able to access it. But with translation technology, using AI translation tools, you can translate. They can help translate this. There's so much work happening here in India, where you're seeing real deployment of translation technologies across rural areas to help them engage with new technology and then build using that technology in their own indigenous languages. So there is so much within that space that needs a lot more work, and then facilities within the rural areas. Internet is one. I'll go
I
back
know
there.
you covered a lot. You covered a lot,
Yes.
and in conclusion, I just want you to give a tips, most actionable tips you know offer to stakeholder Africans, be it policymakers, entrepreneurs, educators, to maximize the benefit of AI while addressing ethical, social, and non-infrastructural concerns that exist. What tips do you have?
I think the first thing we should do is first have a recollection of who we are and the capacities we have in Africa.
Yeah.
Each country should do what we call an internal assessment, a SWOT analysis of what we need. By so doing, you identify the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. Secondly, hone down on your current technology capabilities. Identify those prior capabilities you have. It might not be AI, it might be technology, it might be other capabilities that can form an interface for AI. Identify the stage you are at that level.
Yeah.
Before you now design an AI strategy. So that AI strategy that is tailored specifically to your needs, based on your needs assessment. This idea of feeling good that you are now a part of the AI crusade, jumping into one policy and one national strategy or the other, without a clear focus on what you need and why you need it and how it will help you develop. We've not started. So that is my message to policymakers. You have to build from the ground up. This is a technology, it is important, it's serving the interest of those who have built the foundation for it to work for them. We must, as Africans, build our foundation. We must have the economic, the human resource, the technical, and the social, cultural environment to support this technology. Now, for businesses, we must begin to look at opportunities within Africa. Opportunities in addressing some of the challenges that we face in Africa. From the very fundamental challenge of having the backbone infrastructure to support AI development, to the introduction of the AI solutions to resolving our problems, there are opportunities in this space. We must begin to curate solutions, very unique solutions, Afrocentric solutions that are designed specifically to address these challenges with a view to producing a better outcome for AI. Now, for every African, my message is Africa is ours, is our continent. We have our countries, but we are one and the same people. We must negotiate ourselves into this because AI is not just a technology. It dictates the balance of power. Countries that are not in this game right now will be forgotten because of the efficiency argument. Systems that can deploy this can develop very quickly, and others can be left out very easily. We don't want to be in the backwaters of development. If you do not want to be a data colony, you must rise up now as Africans. Own what is truly yours, because this is your imprint, this is your DNA. Your data is your DNA. True. Own it. Use these tools to amplify what it is that we are, commoditize it, and use it to resolve our unique problems. We must see as Africans that this is a strategic technology. We must embrace it. We must leverage it.
Yeah.
We must assess the opportunities, and we must see beyond what the narratives are currently. The narratives are not good. We are not doing very well.
Yeah.
But we can do better. So we come together as Africans, both diaspora and Africans at home. We must do better. Thank you very much.
Collaboration against competition. We like to compete most of the. It's not time for competition anymore. Let's collaborate and see what we can change as fast as. Thank you so much, Dr. Ike. It's been great. It's been very insightful speaking to you, and I'm sure our listener will enjoy this episode more than ever. Thanks to our listener. Thank you for tuning in to a Future View. If today's dive into AI and emerging technologies sparked any thought, please share with us. We are always eager to hear how these ideas lands in the maybe boardrooms or classrooms or even in living rooms across Africa and beyond. Big thank you once again to our guests and to you, our community, the listener, and everyday innovators out there. Your questions and your stories power this show so much, and we can't do it without you. So drop us a comment or email. It might even feature you on our next episode. Until next time, I am Obi. Stay curious, stay collaborative, and let's keep building Africa's tech future one idea at a time. Bye, everyone.